Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our cryptocurrency town hall. My name is Michael Schlein. I'm division administrator for the Charities and Legal Services division. Just a couple matters of housekeeping before we get going here and introduce our panelists. Just as noted in the email about today's town hall, it is being recorded. A link to that recording is going to be made available on the Secretary of State's website under the Charities tab. And by joining the town hall, you're consenting to the recording as a part of this virtual town hall. Content and presentation is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be legal advice. If a question pops into your mind during this town hall or discussion, feel free to drop that question in the chat box and try to answer all those questions to the best of ability at the end of the session. Today, we're going to discuss cryptocurrency really as it relates to charities. Cryptocurrency is relatively new to the mainstream. This town hall really aims to just provide charities basic information about cryptocurrency and what to be aware of should the organization be offered a donation of cryptocurrency. This isn't here to sway you one way or the other. Yes, you should do this. No, you should not do this. This is really an informational setting so that folks that are interested in this topic can learn a little more as this continues to be, an emerging thing. And charities have been offered cryptocurrency donations, and we thought this would be a good thing for you guys to have to use as a resource and really help you understand what happens in the field and what you should be thinking about should this be offered to you. So here to discuss this topic today with me are two panelists here. The first one is Tom Hamlet. Tom worked for the FBI for 15 years, and in his time there, he worked many different cases involving cybercrime, national security, and cryptocurrency. He was a member of the virtual currency response team, which focused on crypto-related crimes and analysis. He now works in the private sector as a cryptocurrency investigation specialist, where he continues investigating crypto crime, collaborating with law enforcement, and training people all over the world. And also with us today is Steve Spillman. Steve's a special agent with the FBI in Baltimore. Steve joined the FBI in 2018, is assigned to the FBI Baltimore Cyber Task Force, which includes members of the FBI and Maryland State Police. They investigate a variety of criminal matters in Maryland and Delaware, including ransomware, botnets, cyber criminal forums, threats to critical infrastructure, cyber stalking, and cryptocurrency theft. Prior to the FBI, Steve worked at Citibank in College in Buffalo, New York. So Tom, Steve, appreciate you both joining us this morning to talk about this topic. And folks that are familiar with our town halls will notice this will be a little bit different. This will be much more of a discussion. This is not, although there's a slide up there just about the topic, this isn't going to be one where we roll through a PowerPoint slide. Could be aware of. So Tom, I'm gonna start with you here and really what is cryptocurrency for our folks that are just learning about this.
Yeah, are you guys able to hear me okay? I've had you cut out a couple of times. I think it's my internet, so forgive me if there are issues.
We hear you good.
Okay. So yeah, as far as what is cryptocurrency, I'll keep it somewhat brief here, but I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard of Bitcoin. Maybe you've heard of Ethereum. There's like 20,000 different ones now. It's not at all necessary to know all of those. But in short, it's basically like a digital asset. We're actually pretty used to digital assets these days, where we just use Venmo, PayPal, things like that. We're all conducting things online and not using physical cash these days as much. Cryptocurrency is not backed by the U.S. government. The U.S. dollar is, but the only thing backing cryptocurrency really is like Bitcoin, for example, is a network of people securing the coin itself, and the value is pretty much like anything else, like a baseball card, is what you perceive the value to be. And I mean, the same could be said for a US dollar. It's just a green piece of paper, right? But with the US backing, it makes it more legitimate. So basically, cryptocurrency is just a way of, sending money online, and doing so quickly without a third-party verifier. That's the main thing that cryptocurrency was looking to solve, is the fact that for any transaction, say international or even within border, you usually have a bank or someone in the middle verifying that. There is no third-party verifier. It's a one-to-one sort of peer-to-peer system.
Appreciate that, Tom. Yeah. Just like you said, I think that's the key take home there. It's not a U.S. government backed thing, but I like your analogy about the baseball card and the value there. So appreciate you. And Steve, if you had anything to add, chime on in there. And then if not, kind of sliding into now, really kind of it's a very broad question, but how is it received? How does this exchange, kind of broadly speaking, work? And I guess it's probably maybe is a little different depending on your cryptocurrency type of cryptocurrency you're using.
Yeah, if you want, I'll take this, Steve.
Yeah.
So for the most part, if you say you have Bitcoin, the majority of people tend to leave their cryptocurrency on what's called an exchange. If you've heard of Coinbase, there's many others, Binance, Gemini. There's a bunch of different exchanges. That's where you can exchange fiat, your US dollars for the cryptocurrency, or vice versa. And then say you signed up for a Coinbase account, and you wanted to buy one Bitcoin, whatever that's worth now, $30,000. You could deposit $30,000 and buy one Bitcoin, and then you could send, using that exchange, that Bitcoin to anybody else who has a Bitcoin address. Everyone will get, whether it's on an exchange or your own private wallet, everyone gets your own address, which is just like a long string of complicated numbers that no one ever memorizes. And that's your kind of like email address, if you will. That's your address to say like, hey, if Mike, I want you to send me some Bitcoin. You would use that address, and then pay a small little fee to the Bitcoin network to be able to transact and send and receive that Bitcoin. I'm going to keep it to Bitcoin. I can talk about Ethereum a little bit. The fees are higher, but it's the same basic principle. I'm not going to go into all the different the cryptocurrencies, but that's the gist of it. Is that everyone gets assigned a certain address, and you can just send it directly to Mike. I can send it directly to Steve, and there's no intermediary that's involved in that.
It's almost like a cryptocurrency bank account, almost, so to speak, and you're just trading from one to the other directly.
Exactly. And the nice thing about crypto that I like as an investigator is it's this public blockchain. It's called blockchain, but it's a like public ledger. And every single transaction dating back to the very first Bitcoin transaction, you can just go look it up. It's not like you have to subpoena a bank for the records or anything like that to get like a normal investigator would. For Bitcoin, especially, you can just look it up and see all the transactions. So if there is some sort of nefarious activity going on, or if it's not, even if it's on the up and up, and you just want a record of your donations or however you want to, you just want to see, you can just go to the blockchain, look it up, and see every single transaction, which is very helpful, obviously, for investigators like Steve and I, to be able to look back and see any activity.
Right, right. And then, from there we get it, right? You have this Bitcoin, it's sitting in your account, so to speak. And then, kind of how, how's it converted into dollars? How does it go back and forth? You mentioned earlier, the baseball card analogy about the value that it's perceived to have. How does that conversion to and from work? What's involved in that?
Yeah, that part's, I mean, this all seems like daunting and complicated and scary at first, but that part's actually fairly simple. Like if you have a Coinbase account, which is a US based company, you would link your bank account. Say you're just a personal user, not a charity, but like say Mike. Mike would sign up with a Coinbase account. You would link your bank account to that account, and you could deposit, say, $1,000. You could then purchase any crypto that they have available on there, and hold it as an investment if that's your prerogative. Or if you were sent, say you were sent, which is more applicable for this group, if you were sent, say, a Bitcoin to your Coinbase Bitcoin address, then you could just log into your Coinbase account, sell that Bitcoin at whatever the market rate is, and now you have 30,000 US dollars in your account. If you've already established the link to your bank account, then it's just a withdrawal to your bank account, and it's very fairly simple.
Okay, so it's, comparable in a way, almost not exactly the same, but comparable to electronic banking or moving money from one account online to another, just through a different system in a crypto.
Similar to like Venmo, right? Like if you upload some funds to your Venmo account, it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
And even PayPal and Venmo and all of them are getting in the crypto game as well. So, this will get a little easier as things evolve.
Right. Yeah. I'm still new to it myself, right? I kind of very high level understanding. This is a pretty fascinating topic to myself as somebody's just kind of learning about it. And then, kind of now we've talked about the general, what is it? How's it received? How's this converted to dollars? How's it work? And I think now we kind of want to move the conversation, Tom and Steve now as well, really into what are things charities should know? And I'll start with you, Tom. Kind of, what should they know? What should they be thinking about when it comes to crypto? We'll say crypto philanthropy. Whether they think they should or shouldn't accept a donation, and things they should be aware of before they go down this path. And I'll say the good and the bad, so to speak. The different factors they should be considering.
Yeah, I would say the good is that, traditionally, I think in the past, and you guys, the charities, would know more than I would, but I get a sense that it's usually an older generation that, or a more established people that like to donate. So you may get access to a younger generation of people looking to make donations if you open up to crypto options, because in my experience it's a majority of younger people that are involved in the crypto space. So you may get access to a new demographic, if you will. As far as things to consider, I'm not a tax professional, and I'm also not someone who knows all the restrictions that charities have to adhere to. But you may want to consider if you have to have any sort of anti-money laundering policies in place. Like a know your donor, a KYD, know your donor policy. I don't know what that involves, what currently you guys have to do for those types of situations. But if you were to experience a donation from someone where those funds were linked to terrorism financing or money laundering or anything like that. That would be where my head goes in terms of compliance and anti-money laundering, making sure you guys do due diligence on the people donating to you. And then one of the main things I think about is, say someone donates, I don't know, a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, an ETH to you. Is the volatility of the value of that cryptocurrency. So you need to, decide ahead of time, are you going to just, custody that Bitcoin, say, and hold it for a specified period of time? Or, what I probably recommend instead is immediately either selling that for US dollars or converting it to what's called a stable coin, which is just basically a crypto version of the US dollar. So it doesn't fluctuate in value. So that would be my main concern for charities, is if they get a donation of some cryptocurrency and then they just hold it and it just plummets in value, now you've lost. Now, yes, there is the flip side. It could go up in value, right? But that's a decision each charity would have to make. Like, are you going to be in the crypto trading investment game, or are you just looking to simply accept these donations as a way to broaden your demographic and other options given to people? So for me, it seems this is purely my opinion. You guys do what you want. But the easier answer would be, okay, you can immediately convert it to US dollars, and then it becomes like any other donation, right? And then as far as how you guys would handle receiving those, I know there are companies. I sent a couple articles to Mike a while back. He may be able to share those with you. But they talk about a lot of these considerations, and that there are companies that are already set up to help charities accept crypto if you don't want to do it yourself. If you do want to do it yourself, like I said, setting up some sort of Coinbase account is an option. You can go even further and just set up your own private wallet. But now you're talking another, extra level of expertise and risk. If you have your own private wallet and you forget what's called like the seed phrase or the keys, or there's, different terminology that you need to know to really prevent yourself from losing the crypto. So if you're not really, familiar with crypto, I would not suggest that route. So like I said, there are companies that can help you with that. I've never used any of them, so I can't vouch for any of them. You'd have to do your own research. But that is an option. And then to wrap this up, the main things that I think of, because I investigate crypto crime, that I would caution, you probably won't run into this because you're just going to be on the receiving end of donations. But this is a $10+ billion crypto crime industry that I investigate and Steve investigates. You want to be aware of investment scams, getting contacted in any sort of way, privately or through your charity, and having someone say, hey, I found this website that has great returns. You can get 25% returns guaranteed. Anything like that should be red flags going off in your head. Or there's something called pig butchering, which is just another term for like romance scams, getting contacted online, developing a relationship with someone, and then thinking, oh, okay, we are, friends or more than friends. And then they sort of sprinkle in, oh, you should buy some crypto, or you should send it to this website. That's number two. Or the third one that I see all the time is tech support fraud, which you may have encountered at some point. But, getting a call that, your computer has a virus on it and they need to take over your computer. All three of these scams are very, very common. And they utilize crypto as a way to steal your money, essentially. I have literally a friend just last week tells me that his mom, he just found out his mom had been in an online relationship with a general And this general, doesn't really exist, but she didn't know that. And, she was the type of person that would see people falling for scams and be like, how do they fall for these scams? Every single one of us, including me, are targets and have, moments of weakness and are gullible at times to these types of scams. So it's not a, I'll never fall for that type of thing. Like, you always have to have your guard up. And that's one of the main things I want to get across, is whether it's involved in your charity or in a personal capacity, make sure your friends, your family, especially if they aren't sort of tech savvy at all, make sure they're aware of these scams, because literally every single day at my job, someone comes to me and says, I lost $500,000 or more in one of these investment scams. So that to me is like the biggest thing just to be aware of.
Yeah, a lot of good information there, Tom. And I have those two links that Tom referenced. I dropped those in the chat box. So if you were to look at the little next to the little people icon down in the lower right hand corner, you should see a little, what looks like a little text message type of image. And if you click on that, you can see stuff in the chat there. And I just threw those two links to those articles in the chat, and they're geared towards charities and you kind of just things to think about and be aware of in cryptocurrency. And one of the points I would go back to, and I think Tom was trying to drive it home there, in terms of things to think about, is what are you after in accepting the cryptocurrency donation? If you're just trying to open up that other avenue to receive and accept that gift, but not face some of the risk of potential, a cryptocurrency investment, and just the ability to convert that to cash. So this isn't something where, you need to go sit on these things for long periods of time. Like you said, you can get that donation and cash it out, and that's an option. And I say that again, informational. I'm not here to give legal advice, but just in terms of things to think about. But these articles are good reads, and kind of, in writing a lot of the stuff that Tom here is discussing on this video here, on this town hall with us, things that charities should be thinking about and concerned about. And so there's some ease to it, and the ability to open up maybe a new market, so to speak, to receive donations in. But you have the risk side as well, and that's out there. It's all over the world today. Last year we had a town hall about cybercrime, and Steve was on that too, and a lot of good information about how to prevent cybercrime on that town hall. And that recording is on the charity page of our website, the same place this one will go. And I encourage anybody that hasn't looked at that to give that a look. And I want to say it's about 45, 55 minutes long, but it's a good investment of time. And everybody thinks, like Tom's story about his friend's mom, right? Will never happen to me. How could that happen? But it does. And so just cybercrime in general, but also cryptocurrency, right? Do your homework, know what you're getting into. Things sound great, and things are great until they're not. And that can happen in a lot of different areas. And kind of the last area we're going to get into and really talk about is different scams that exist. And Tom really just ran through a bunch of them right now. And I wanted to bring you in this area too. From your seat at the FBI, what things should charities be concerned about, and what kind of scams exist, and what do you have to share in that area?
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, Tom covered a good portion of it. He mentioned the number 10 billion. That's the loose number that the FBI quotes as, in 2022, we received reports of $10 billion in losses from U.S. victims related to crypto crime, crimes related to cryptocurrency. That number is for sure low, because that's just what people are reporting to us. There are many victims that just don't report it. But just looking at what is reported, of that 10 billion, victims reported $3.3 billion in losses related to crypto investment scams. That seems accurate. And I'm trying to keep the commentary focused on what I think a charitable organization would be concerned with. The investment scams is at the top of the list. I would imagine that charitable organizations are under all kinds of pressure to increase donations. How do they do that? They got to invest assets, and crypto is a new thing, and it's a way to. If there's a lot of less than reputable people out there who are, advertising quick returns, as Tom had mentioned. So it's really just you really, before you invest in anything, but particularly crypto, really know the parties that you're getting involved with. And if something seems like it's too good to be true, if somebody's offering 15-20% return on investment over 6 months or something crazy, it's probably crazy. The other large loss that stood out to me, just looking at the 2022 numbers, is business email compromise schemes related to crypto. So I'm sure all charitable organizations are concerned about business email compromises. So that's people gaining unauthorized access to your email network, and spoofing, figuring out who works in finance, spoofing that person's address, and then changing wire instructions for donors and things of that nature. That's a very typical scam that we see targeting charities. The way crypto factors into that is that once wire transfers go out the door, the criminals are immediately, once they get it to a bank that they control, they're immediately converting the funds into crypto to make it harder for authorities to seize. So crypto touches a lot of crime. It's not directly involved, so to speak, in a lot of crimes, but the criminals like to get their money into crypto as quickly as possible, because they can move it, they can change it. They don't need to go to a bank to do any of this. All they need is a computer. So that's certainly what I would be concerned about. The other one that I just wanted to highlight that we see particularly targeting charities is like website spoofing. So just having, like, every charity has a website. Every charitable organization just has to have a really, really good picture on other websites out there that may be spoofing your charity and soliciting donations. In crypto, in whatever type of currency, but crypto specifically, we see a lot of victims saying, this group of actors, they created this website. It looks exactly like our website. They're soliciting donations. And who knows how many people that they've scammed out of fraudulent donations just using a website that looks like your website. So it falls into the crypto fraud umbrella. But just having somebody in IT or some dedicated entity just constantly scanning the internet, just looking for websites that are meant to look like your legitimate charity.
Yeah, that's I know, reference in our last year, we talked about this type of issue last year too. Just the ability for people to make something look very similar to your real site or your real information. And one of the tricks is, you kind of put your mouse over the web address and it pops up. You ever get a text? Some of my favorite texts, you need to log into your whatever account, and I don't even have an account there. And you look at the link and it's some random link. It's not to that legitimate bank or a credit card or anything like that, but it's easy to click on it and proceed as if thinking you're in the right place, right? And the differences can be subtle, right? And so paying good attention to that and just staying secure. Steve, is there anything else statistics wise or from the FBI's perspective that that you want to get out there to our folks about crypto?
I mean, ransomware is always the top of mind. Ransomware is the top cyber threat that the FBI investigates. Every charitable organization should have, good cyber hygiene, we call it, to ensure that their networks are as secure as possible. Because the easiest way for cyber criminals to to extort you through crypto is to gain unauthorized access to your network, lock it up, and then, say, we will release all of we'll decrypt your data for 50,000 or 100,000 in Bitcoin. And that type of attack affects all sectors, hospitals, schools, every sector, charities included.
Right. Yeah, appreciate the good to point out, right? This works across the board. And a lot of folks think, oh, charities, everything's great. Who would mess with a charity? From a criminal perspective, they'll take from who they can, right, Steve? So Tom, anything else you kind of want to add scam wise, or things that crypto information that our charities should just generally be aware of? We've talked a lot about it, but anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so I just answered P's question in the chat. I haven't actually seen, unverifiable donations, to charities and stuff like that. But again, this isn't my area of expertise, so I don't know your legal policies, your compliance policies. But personally, I would certainly want to have some sort of policy in place where you have to have some sort of ID verification on the donor and stuff like that. If you start seeing a bunch of international donations from, I'm not going to say certain countries, but certain hotbed countries of crypto crime, maybe that's immediately suspicious right there. I would be wary of those. You brought up address spoofing before. It just always makes me think of this story where I was swearing out a warrant with a judge, and then the judge was like, okay, now that that's taken care of, I have a question. My wife just got an email from Apple saying we spent $80 in the iOS store. Click here to whatever, right? And he was like, she definitely didn't spend $80 in the iOS store. And I know this is going more into like cybercrime, but that's right. Where Steve and I, have history. This is just a perfect example of, if you get an email, you get a text, like you're talking about, Mike, or anything, never trust it. Always just go right to your account. I said, hey, have your wife, he was on the phone with her. I said, have your wife go to her Apple account. Is there any purchases? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, so now you know that, like, right off the bat, that was fraudulent. But I said, let's go even further. I said, look at the email address. You can change the email so it only shows like the moniker of the email. It doesn't actually show the full email address, and it just says like Apple, right? But if you hover over it or you expand the email, it turned out for this particular email, it was from security at applemicrosoft.com. And I'm like, that's another clue. Applemicrosoft.com, those are two completely separate companies, and it's just like, you laugh and you're like, yeah, this is silly. But they wouldn't do this if this didn't work. They wouldn't do, and it costs them virtually nothing to target 1 million people. All you need is a few for them to fall for it, and it's profitable for them. So in general, it's cyber hygiene, like Steve was mentioning before. The things I think about, again, this is not necessarily related to crypto, is knowing where your donations came from, having good backups in place in case your records were compromised via ransomware or something like that. If you have backups that you generate for your records on a regular basis, that's great. But it's not great if those backups are always connected to your network and then they're ransomware and encrypted as well. So offline backups is huge to protect yourself against ransomware threats. And then just updating and patching systems with the latest updates. I mean, iOS has recently pushed out several updates in quick succession due to various vulnerabilities that were discovered. When somebody like Microsoft or Apple pushes out an update, it's often because there's a flaw in their software that somebody exploited. So if an update comes out, they say, hey, we fixed this flaw. What they've also done is said, hey, everyone, here's a flaw that if someone hasn't updated, they can exploit. So all the criminals look at those updates and they say, oh, there's a flaw I can exploit. And if you haven't gone in and updated your system, your phone, your computer, your network, I can now scan the internet for all the people who haven't updated their systems and use that flaw. So it's almost like, it's like this, you know, double-edged sword of like announcing the flaw, but also saying like, hey, we really want you to fix your, you know, update your system to protect against this flaw. So that's the main thing, is just getting people to patch and update their systems, just on a cyber hygiene level. Getting back to crypto, like I said, you know, to me, if you have the policies in place to kind of do your due diligence, if you either use a company to help you or set up like a Coinbase account, like to me, I think, you know, that's a viable option to accept crypto. I wouldn't be scared of it. It's just going to take some research, you know, on your part, and figuring it out, and then, you know, deciding, do you want to hold crypto? You know, that's an investment. That's like holding a stock, but a much more volatile stock. But, you know, you may just want to convert it to dollars, and then all you've done is given somebody another option to donate. And if you're immediately converting it to dollars, it's, at the end of the day, it's kind of the same, right? So that's my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Tom. Appreciate it, Steve. Appreciate all the information today. One other question just popped up, and it sounds like it's just somebody that joined late and missed about Charities being vulnerable to this. And Tanya, on that one, I would just, this recording is going to get posted. I would rewatch when we get this town hall posted in the next week, or within the next week or so. You kind of rewatch the beginning of this town hall where it talks about, you know, kind of what it is, how it works, and then things that Charities should be aware of, you know, what's good about this, but also where vulnerabilities could lie for organizations, and that'll really help answer that question. You know, we spent a lot of time on that, you know, leading in even the first 20-25 minutes of this. Kind of with that in mind, I didn't see any other questions in the chat, and that maybe that folks haven't really thought of them yet. And this is a new topic for many of us. You know, so I know about it, but I don't know a lot about it. And this has been a good, enlightening discussion, and appreciate Tom and Steve, both your guys' time in talking this out here and giving our charity something to think about. You know, really just kind of to wrapping things up here. You know, just a reminder that this is for informational purposes only, and it's not intended to be legal advice. And you know, so, and again, this also wasn't you know, this wasn't, and Tom mentioned again, it's not to scare you out of doing it. This wasn't to say, yeah, go do it, or no, definitely don't do it. This is really just to give everybody information to something that we know is an emerging area, you know, in the charitable sector. And as more folks use crypto, more folks may be interested in donating crypto, and it's good to really know how it works, and what you should think about. And those articles in the chat box, click on them, give them a read, and they kind of lay it out, I think, pretty good. And like I said, in a lot of what Steve and Tom were talking about, you know, if you're looking for another resource to look at. So just really a special thanks to our panelists, Steve Spillman, Tom Hamlet. Very grateful for your expertise and your information, and sharing your time today.